continue to see these expanding farther off to the east over the rest of the night. Here's that tornado warning that we have for Emmett, Kossuth, Palo Alto, Winnebago. And now, let me make sure I can get this specific tornado warning. There's so many. The system's coughing a little bit on that. All right, that is until 10:15. That's Hancock, Kossuth, Winnebago, and Worth counties. That tornado warning until 10:15. And we are especially conscious of this leading edge. I'm going to remove the lightning because there is just so much lightning with this line. There it is. There's the leading edge right there. All right, now we have a new tornado warning up in Faribault County, a little bit farther to the north. This is all making its way off to the east and northeast. Now, looking along this whole line, starting from top to bottom, in Martin County and in Faribault County, that tornado warning is in effect until 10:15. We have the tornado warning for all of Winnebago County now and the northern portion of Hancock County. That tornado warning is also in effect until 10:15. It's this portion of the storm coming out of around Algona to Burt, moving into Wesley shortly, and that is where our number one concern is, right along that leading edge, where there are going to continue to be spin-ups along this line. And that is going to be something that just continues to occur over the rest of this evening into toward midnight even. And severe thunderstorm wind gusts. In addition, let's either double box or bring me up to camera 4 for a little while. We are going to, with all of these storms, have an ongoing threat of significant wind gusts up to around 60 to 70 miles per hour anywhere along that line. The threat for hail isn't as high, but there could be some pockets where there are some hailstones up to around maybe nickel to quarter size, so that is getting into the range of severe. And these thunderstorms, the leading edge, we can have numerous spin-ups along those. They're not really long lasting, and that's why we have that tornado warning now. Let me get to this one specifically for Hancock, Kossuth, Winnebago, and Worth until 10:15, so that one is for about the next 40 minutes. 37 minutes as that storm continues to move off. And there are tornado warnings that extend along this whole line right now. That's from Kossuth County, farther down to the south, getting to around Humboldt and Fort Dodge, Hamilton County, Humboldt County, Webster County, and Wright County. That is until 9:45. There have been tornadoes reported with this. I'm going to go to where we had that tornado report earlier. And again, we have so many different warnings. It's most importantly, just want to let you know that within our viewing area, the Winnebago County and Hancock County tornado warning, that is until 10:15. But I'm going to pull up the marker here on the tornado that was spotted. Let's see, a confirmed tornado estimated via webcam. That was in Emmett County near Armstrong, and that was at 9:28. So that was reported 10 minutes ago. Right there in Emmett County, in that storm, that portion of the storm where there is rotation is moving into northern Kossuth County. But then a little bit farther down to the south, also areas of rotation along this line near Algona, and that'll be moving to the east. And these are still moving. Now I'm going to double check here. They have been moving at about 25 miles per hour. They are going to start to accelerate as the evening goes on. So I'm pulling the information up on that. And that storm, yes, so that storm now moving faster, moving up to 55 miles per hour. So this line is going to be accelerating as the cold pool develops behind it. And let me explain that to you. I'm going to hop back over to the green screen a little bit here before I come back to the desk and navigate just a little bit more. But where that significant wind damage is coming from along this line, we got a number of different aspects to this. So the rotation is going to be occurring right along the line where there's a tornado that was spotted not too far from Armstrong in Emmett County. That's moving farther to the northeast now, and also areas of rotation within this line from the leading edge, maybe just a little bit farther back. So that's near Algona and then a little bit farther down to the south. So right there, there's been some indicated rotation within this portion of the squall line moving into Winnebago County and Hancock County. And then farther back, this is the cold pool right there. So as that line is becoming a squall line, and notice it has a bit of an arc to it, there's going to be some stronger winds developing in the wake of it. So the leading edge, that's where a lot of the inflow is occurring within the storm, that air being lifted up, that warmer, more humid air. And again, so those of you maybe watching around southeast Minnesota where it hasn't been as warm and humid, our temperatures have been in the 50s to lower 60s. It is very humid, but farther to the south into Winnebago County and Hancock County, temperatures have been in the 70s with dew points close to 70 degrees as well. That's more unstable air. That warmer, more humid air feeding in, and the rain is coming down, and then the cold pool developing here, and that's sending that outflow farther out, and that's causing that arc line that you see right there within the squall line. Another area that we're going to be watching, and I've talked about this before when we had another squall line event, is on the northern side where you see it hooking back. That's the northern bookend to these storms. And we watch the northern bookend very closely because that's where the circulation is counterclockwise with this storm. So you get the cold pool forming behind it and those winds surging forward. And then on that bookend, there's some counterclockwise movement here. Low pressure, counterclockwise, and then we also get some areas where the winds get particularly strong, or you can have a spin up along that line. Just a reminder, those of you in Winnebago County and in Hancock County, you are under a tornado warning until 10:15 p.m. This line will continue to move off to the east and northeast, and there is the potential of rotation along this entire line and all the way down to the south. In addition to that, there is also a severe thunderstorm warning that encompasses all of Winnebago, Hancock, and then the western sides of Worth County and Cerro Gordo County. There will be wind gusts possibly up to 70 miles per hour through this entire line as it moves off to the east. So that's going to be for everybody in the line of the storm. Some strong winds as it surges off to the east, and then smaller pockets of rotation kind of just peppered in here, and some of those will be a tornado. And we've seen that often enough before. That's the situation we're looking at tonight. And now look at all of these warnings that we have along this whole stretch. Moving back over here, and I'm just going to move the view just a little bit farther to the north so we can get a picture of what's going on around, there we go, into Faribault County. So now there's that tornado warning that extends from this portion of the storm coming out of Emmett in northern Kossuth County into Faribault County. So Freeborn County, you're right here. Albert Lee, you're going to have to wait a little while for the storm to get your way. And this portion of the storm has shown a little bit of weakening. It's still got some strength. It's going to have some gusty winds, possibly even enough to have winds strong enough to knock down some smaller tree branches. And that storm is moving to the east. Some of these cells within the line are drifting off to the north and northeast, but the line itself will continue its eastward move. Shower and thunderstorms and heavy rain in pockets of Olmsted County, eastern Mower County, and Fillmore County. This one, we're not looking at a severe threat out of it, but there could even be some smaller hail in the mix with that part of it. But the more dangerous portion of this entire line is now farther down to the south. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Now, unfortunately, my controls here on this laptop are just a little bit janky, but we have this tornado warning in Winnebago and Hancock County until 10:15. New severe thunderstorm warning was issued just a little bit farther down to the south. So we've got a double punch with this line. Some areas of rotation in the straight line winds. The hail is not as much of a concern with this, but I'm going to move back over so we can navigate the radar a little bit more. And just a reminder, we are almost all of our viewing area is under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the morning. So later tonight, the line is going to continue to progress off to the east. And now that's starting to accelerate. That I'm going to put a storm track on this right now. The last update from the National Weather Service actually has showing the line moving at about 55 miles per hour. So assuming that speed of 55 miles per hour, I'm going to draw a track on this off to the east. Okay. Let's take that out about an hour. So if it's moving at that speed, if it truly is, we're going to have arrival time in Belmont at 9:57, Garner is going to be 10:01, Forest City at 10:09, Clear Lake at 10:16 p.m., Hampton 10:22, and Mason City, you're looking at the arrival of that line right about 10:26, and then it's going to continue moving off to the east, Norris Springs 10:36, and Northwood at 10:40. Primary threat from this entire line is going to be those intense straight line winds coming from it, but there are also some areas of rotation embedded within this whole line. And I'm just also checking while I'm on air, I'm also getting information. We have our chat set up with the National Weather Service offices in Des Moines and in Chanhassen, Twin Cities, and in La Crosse. And all of us are watching these storms very carefully. Looking at the radar picture now, just got a new report of a tornado. Let me pull that up for you. With this tornado warning that we have, Winnebago and Worth County until 10:15. So there's that marker that just showed up there. Confirmed tornado via emergency management. That was in Kossuth County on the eastern side of the county, just south of Highway 18. And the time of that report was 9:38. So that was 8 minutes ago. They got that report into the National Weather Service, which is fantastic. So at least we know, we get a little bit of ground truth to what's going on there. And that is yet another example of how along this line, there are just going to be those little pockets of rotation within there. Also seeing that we got a report of 75 mile per hour wind gust from the Esterville station, 82 mile per hour winds. All right, so that's farther to the west, but that's getting back into that cold pool. So there we have it, and that's that northern bookend. Right there around Esterville, we had a report of 82 mile per hour winds, and let me show you where that's at. Just want to put a marker on that. So Esterville, we also had that tornado report just south of Armstrong. Even though there's not a whole lot showing up on the radar picture right now as far as the strength of the storm in that spot, that is where these very strong winds are going to be developing, is in the wake of this squall line. So the squall line, the leading edge, carries with it that tornado potential, and then behind it, those straight line winds. Now, an 82 mile per hour straight line wind is going to do the kind of damage that's very similar to what you would even get from an EF0 to maybe an EF1 tornado. That's going to be able to do some things. It's going to be able to knock over some campers. Any maybe semi-trailer truck that is on the interstate is going to be struck by that. So just a heads up that we have these multiple threats coming from the squall line tonight. You see right behind me here, from that northern side of it, where the strong winds were just reported there in Esterville, an 82 mile per hour wind, and then to the leading edge of it where we have a tornado warning, and that is for Winnebago and Hancock County. That one is until 10:15. For those of you, and I don't think anyone up here gets our signal, but just a heads up for those of you in Freeborn County, especially the western side of Freeborn County, we have that tornado warning now. Right up here in Faribault County and Martin County, that's in effect until 10:15. The tornado warning as this storm is marching off to the east fairly quickly in Winnebago and Hancock County. That's going to be affecting those of you in Woden here shortly. Buffalo Center, heads up, you need to be in your shelter. You're not going to be able to step outside and see if there is a tornado. This is stuff that's pretty, A, it's dark, and B, we've got a whole lot of rain, and a lot of these tornadoes, when they spin up, they're going to be embedded within that line, and it becomes very difficult to see. And there are first responders who are out there with county emergency management, with sheriff's department, with police departments who are out and tracking this, and thank goodness they are, because we're able to get those reports that come to the National Weather Service. So again, that tornado warning that's going to be affecting those of you, and now let's just put a track right on this area that's under the tornado warning specifically, and draw the leading edge. That's where it is most dangerous. Let me go back here and get that track drawn out over the length of that warning. So Buffalo Center, we're talking 9:54. That's less than 5 minutes away for the most part. Crystal Lake, 9:55. Thompson at 10 p.m. Forest City at 10:04. That's going to be jogging as well, right through Ventura, right through Clear Lake. Now, technically speaking, by the Polygon Ventura, you are just south of it, but for the most part, all areas along this line are going to be able to produce some of those brief tornadic spin-ups. So even taking this a little bit farther down to the south, from Kanawha down to Fort Dodge, that squall line continues to press off to the east. And now I'm just double checking here with what's going on from the National Weather Service in Des Moines to see where they're clocking the speed of these storms. And it still looks like they are moving now at about 55 miles per hour. So these have accelerated quite a bit as the cold pool behind it intensifies and those straight line winds pick up just a little bit of steam. Farther to the north now, thunderstorms continue in Waseca County. That's moving towards Steele County. But this portion of the line in specific, right there, and I'm going to step back in front of the chroma key and give you a little bit of a guide here as to what we're talking about. This portion of the line from Faribault County, that's up to Waseca County now. As we have this indentation here, we basically have two different squall lines. We've got this squall line right there in southern Minnesota, but the northern side of the squall line, it's from Fairmont, Martin County, that stretches now through Kossuth County, and this line is just getting in to the western side of Winnebago County, and that tornado warning that's in effect until 10:15 for Winnebago County and then for Hancock County. And then I'll move this a little bit farther down to the south. We have a report of a tornado earlier, and that is from the eastern side of Kossuth County, so just near the border of Hancock County. The same could occur at any spot right along this line. These happen very quickly. Sometimes they fall apart as quickly as they fire up. It is also quite difficult to get some good data on the velocity picture on radar because we are so far away in North Iowa from the radar site located in Des Moines, and also in southern Minnesota, far from the radar site located in the Twin Cities. So we do get good reflectivity. That's what we're looking at right here. This is what the radar is seeing, the heavy rain, maybe even some hail aloft. We could have some hailstones, but in these linear situations where we have that line of storms, where wind is taking over a little bit more, we tend to lose a little bit of the hail threat. I'm zooming a little bit farther down to the south just so I can get the Des Moines radar. And notice it just switched and it looks a little bit different. And we're also getting more signs of damaging wind potential right along this line. Just notice some of these spots. It's kind of like stripes a little bit in the reflectivity picture there. That is a good indication that we are going to have some strong gusty winds. And the strong winds are really strengthening up behind this line. So that wind is pushing out toward the east. And then on top of that, where we have that conflict, so we've got that wind that's moving out here, and that warmer air, more humid air moving into the storm, and you'll get areas of rotation right along what is essentially a front where those winds converge. And that's what we're watching very carefully. That's what the National Weather Service is watching very carefully, and why we have that tornado warning with a confirmed tornado earlier in Kossuth County as that line continues to move off to the east. And now it's moving more rapidly. It is picking up its pace fairly quickly now. And just a reminder to everyone, we are all under a tornado watch until 1 a.m. from Rochester to Austin, Mason City, and Albert Lea. Because of this misshapen line right there, as that's arcing from north and back to the southwest, and then from the northwest to the southeast here, where this storm affects, the timing on it's going to vary quite a bit across the area, because this is the portion of the line that's now accelerating off to the east, and more than likely, from what we're seeing now, if trends hold, you're going to see that storm getting into the Mason City area by around 10:26, if not a little bit earlier. So we're looking at this line picking up speed, moving 55 miles per hour, and then with that moving 55 miles per hour, it's more than likely along that line that wind gusts are going to be about the same. So you need to be taking shelter right now in Winnebago and Hancock counties. Get down into the basement, stay away from windows. Straight line wind damage is the #1 threat, in addition to the fact that there will be some tornadoes spinning up along that line, and that's why there is that tornado warning in effect now for Winnebago County and Hancock County, and these areas where there could be a little bit of rotation. There's also so much electricity with this storm. Just numerous lightning strikes currently stretching from Martin County all the way down now into the western sides of Winnebago and Hancock counties. Tornado warning in effect until 10:15. That's going to be for all of Winnebago County, almost all of it. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit tighter here. This takes a little while for it to get in here, but I just want to get a little bit closer view specifically of this tornado warning. So areas like Buffalo Center right now, Buffalo Center, where you need to be taking shelter. We've got the combination of very strong winds and the tornado threat there. That extends down into to Woden in Hancock County, and this line is moving off to the east, and it's moving to the east now very quickly at around 55 miles per hour, and that's going to hold. It's going to continue to be strong, moving quickly. So Forest City, the arrival time, now we're at 9:54 right now, and in Forest City, you're probably looking at about 10 minutes before it gets there. You can certainly hear the storm right now along Highway 69, maybe even farther off to the east. You're seeing the flashes of lightning just off to the west of you. Buffalo Center, Woden, be taking shelter at this very moment, and the storm is going to be going quickly off to the east. So all of you between Buffalo Center and Highway 69, and even farther off to the east, you should be taking shelter already, as within this line there can be these embedded areas of rotation. And I'm going to pull up here, we'll pull up the velocity scope just to see what we can look at and see if anything is showing up. Now the odds are there isn't much that we're able to discern just because we are so far away from the radar site, and it can be very difficult to detect these low-level rotation. So this isn't the kind of situation where when you have a long-lived, large, dangerous tornado, the thing you're thinking of maybe like Nebraska saw today, getting a very large tornado, or the kind of tornadoes that Oklahoma sees frequently. You've got rotation within a column that's going about 20 to 30,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and the radar can detect that rotation at a distance very easily. This is rotation that's occurring in a much shallower layer of the atmosphere, and by the time that radar beam is getting to these sites, up in northern Iowa, in Winnebago County, it's shooting above that rotation. So we're shooting blind almost as far as what we can see. Although there have been verified already tornadoes that have been seen there, the environment is ripe for that rotation to occur right along the leading edge or maybe just a little bit embedded into the front of the line. And that is why right now we have that larger tornado warning until 10:15. For Hancock County, for Winnebago County, and for the eastern side of Kossuth County. And that storm now moving off to the east quickly at about 55 miles per hour. Looking farther to the north, I'm going to go back up here to see what the latest is in Faribault County. We do now have a see what we got. We got a new tornado warnings. All right, so they've issued a tornado warning now for all of Faribault and Freeborn County. So we are now under a tornado warning in Albert Lea, and that one is until 10:45. So we are going to be staying with you for a while, and just a heads up to everyone in the booth here, Master Control. Let me know when we've got Brandon handy. I know that he was heading out a little bit farther to the west. Okay, so let's see if we can get some video here soon. It's going to be a little while. We have this tornado warning. This latest tornado warning, this extends, notice this storm. This is immense right now. The storm, the leading edge of it, is right along Highway 169 on the western side of Faribault County. Areas of rotation along that line. That storm is a long ways away from Albert Lea, but we are going to be seeing that storm moving at about 55 miles per hour and now have a tornado warning in effect for a huge swath of Freeborn County. In Freeborn County right now, we do not have that storm yet, but it's going to be here within about the next, again, this is in effect until 10:45, so in about 30 to 40 minutes, we'll see that storm nearing the Albert Lea area, and that is the possibility along this entire line. That's why they're issuing these larger tornado warnings, and for a little bit longer, because there isn't one tornado we're looking at this moment. There is the potential that there could be numerous spin-ups along this line. Some of the tornadoes that develop in a situation like this might be over wide open country and go undetected until maybe some damage shows up in the light of day tomorrow morning, and that's why you want to be taking shelter at this very moment. And that storm is now getting very close to Forest City. That's going to be there in about 5 to 10 minutes, and that line extends all the way up into Martin County, moving into the western side of Faribault County, and that tornado warning that is in effect all the way to the eastern edge of Freeborn County. All the way to the eastern edge. This is a huge tornado warning based on the threat of that storm holding together, which it will, and just the long-lived threat potential of that storm that continues to make its way off to the east at about 55 miles per hour. Now, I haven't seen any reports yet that we have at this moment sirens going off in the Albert Lea area. They might be going off anywhere within this tornado warning. That can vary a little bit by location, but just a heads up, this is the storm that's coming your way. It's back to around Blue Earth right now, and we have the leading edge of the squall line through the center now pretty much of Winnebago and Hancock counties, and that tornado warning in effect until 10:15. That goes all the way to I-35. So Garner, Forest City, and then eventually into the Ventura area, Clear Lake, just on the western side of I-35, as that line continues to move off to the east. Straight line wind damage with this as well. We have that likelihood that in much of this line there are going to be some areas of around 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, and those wind gusts getting especially strong behind this line. Notice we've got the northern bookend. That's where we've got a little bit of counterclockwise rotation on the north side of the squall line, and that is also the area that has prompted that tornado warning going all the way through Freeborn County. This portion of the storm right there, that accentuates that counterclockwise flow, increases the possibility of a tornado along that line, and then that line extending through Hancock and Winnebago counties, and there we have it. So in addition to the tornado threat, anywhere at any moment along the leading edge of this line, there is that damaging wind threat. Once that line passes through, and even when the rain might start to subside a little bit, those winds are going to be ramping up. Hail, not the major concern out of this storm, but still, if you're in Lake Mills, you have a little bit of time to maybe get some things that are outside that you don't want damaged, bring them inside, or maybe cover your patio furniture, put some of those plants that you just set outside after Mother's Day, bring them back in. But you want to be taking shelter within the next 5 minutes. And in Forest City, you're out of time for that. You need to be in your basement right now, away from windows, because you have that potential. From Forest City and then stretching up to the northwest, this is primarily west of Highway 69, where there could be a tornado, in addition to those straight line wind threats, and a whole lot of electricity with that as well. Now farther to the north, right along the edge of this line, here is the storm prompting the tornado warning that extends all the way through Freeborn County. That is now just off to the east, or just right in the Blue Earth area. That's a little bit of a concern right there, where we have that indentation in the radar picture. Also to the north of Blue Earth, tornado warning in effect there. That's the timing on that, it's a little bit earlier, till 10:15, but then that larger tornado warning that extends through Albert Lea, through the majority of Freeborn County, that is until 10:45. So just a heads up, you've got some time. For those of you in Albert Lea, you've got some time to secure some things that are outside and bring them in, or just make sure that you are comfortable in your basement and watching this from the comfort of your home, away from any windows, as the threat is there right now for that combination of a brief tornado, a real sneaky threat of one, because we're not able to really pinpoint any one spot, but the potential is there along this entire line of a tornado developing at any moment, disappearing at any moment, and then another one developing maybe just a little bit off to its north or to its south. So that's why we have a particularly worrisome situation on our hands with this line. Now, Hancock County, looks like we have, okay, that looks like it is just the severe thunderstorm warning. Yes, so Kanawha up to Goodell, over to Thornton, so basically just to I-35. That whole stretch. Now, in our western counties, Winnebago and Hancock counties, where that damaging wind threat is present, it is there. We have clocked wind speeds a little bit farther to the west in this area, say from Algona to Bancroft, where there have been 82-mile-per-hour wind gusts reported, and that line is progressing now very quickly off to the east. Just a reminder, those of you in Albert Lea, the storm's a long ways away, but you are under a tornado warning until 10:45, and this portion of the storm that's getting close to Scarville, that's going to be there any minute now in northern Winnebago County. I would say less than 5, and just we've got time in between scans, so the radar is going to be just a tiny bit outdated with the information that we're looking at there, but the storm is moving at 55 miles per hour. So that edge of the storm, that's going to be heading into Albert Lea within about the next 30 to 40 minutes. And the threat is there of a tornado popping up at any time along that line, in addition to the damaging wind gusts. Now, farther to the north, Waseca County, that storm portion of the storm no longer severe. This southern edge is taking a little bit more of the energy. So it is not, by the way, at this time, a derecho, but this is the kind of squall line that becomes one. In order for it to get that moniker officially, it's going to be having to produce some really intense winds and continue to produce those for almost 3 hours or more. They just updated the polygon on that warning for Winnebago and Hancock counties. Now that polygon extends into Worth County. It's the western side of Worth, it's the northwestern side of Cerro Gordo. So we do have a Cerro Gordo tornado warning at this time. That does not include Mason City at this minute. That storm in Forest City, that is right there. And these little pendants, we get a little concerned about those. That is a possibility where you could have some rotation, or not only rotation, where you could have a tornado. We're also going to look for some areas where there are some minor little buckles within the radar picture. Sometimes it's just an artifact of the radar. Sometimes it is actually a spin-up that's occurring on the leading edge of that line. All right, hey Jim, why don't you give me a break so I can take a drink of water? What are you seeing in Albert Lea right now? I'm assuming you're in Albert Lea?
Yes, we're in Albert Lea. Sirens went off maybe 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
It's dark. It's dark. We got lightning in the distance, and I just have to address, it's so late. Kids are asleep, but get to your safe place, everybody. This is this can be one of those dangerous situations, as you know, Randy. It's dark. Should there one be on the ground, it just makes it that much more harder to see. So hunker down. My family and I, we're down. So everybody just get to that safe place now.
Jim, that's fantastic advice. And like you said, my friend, it is dark. The situation that we have with this squall line, there's unidentifiable threats with that. So as I'm pointing to the leading edge of this line, this is not the kind of situation where you have that individual supercell. You've got a squall line where these small spin-ups, yet dangerous, but they're more compact, are going to happen along this line as it continues to move off to the east. And this is an area right here in Winnebago County and Hancock County and extending into Faribault County and Freeborn County, where there is interaction with a warm front. So there is a warm front that's draped across the area. Those of you in the Austin area, I was getting messages from Austin earlier and from Rochester saying, well, what's the deal? It's 55 degrees, it's 60 degrees. Where's that warm front? If we don't have a warm front, we can't have these tornadoes. Well, now that warm front is interacting with this line, and then it's accentuating that potential that there will be spin-ups along this line. And spin-ups, these tornadoes, the tornado warnings are going to be in effect for a longer amount of time than each individual tornado. But through the lifeline, or the timeline, and the lifespan of the squall line, there will be the potential of a tornado developing at any moment. And more than likely right now, we have activity out there that you are not going to want to see, that we are going to have some small spin-ups. And exactly like Jim was saying, it's late, don't freak out the kids, but you're going to want to grab them and go down into the basement and just say, hey, we got to wait this out. We've got a tornado warning. We're going to be safe. We're going to make the right choice. We're going to get down into the basement until this storm passes by. I only say that as a dad of two boys who had to do that very often, or at least my wife did when I was here, where we'd take care of the boys, let them know that we had to take shelter for a little while the storm was passing through, just in case something were to happen. And the more they get used to that, the easier it's going to be, that there's going to be less anxiety every time that we have these storms. But that tornado warning now extending until 10:15, and they just extended it. The tornado warning has now been extended basically to match up with that tornado warning that is out for Freeborn County. So Worth County, stretching all the way down to the northern side of Mason City, that is where we currently have a tornado warning in effect. And the time, let's see what the time is on that now Worth County and Cerro Gordo County tornado warning, that is also until 10:45. And the line, all right, so the northern side of this, Faribault County, this is not something that's moving precisely west to east. Certainly not in an exact 90 degree here. This line is getting a little bit of momentum up to the northeast. So that's why it's going to be a little bit faster. You see that from around Bryceland and Faribault County, that extends to Forest City, now just getting to the border of Winnebago and Worth counties, and just now on the border of Hancock and Cerro Gordo counties. Tornado warnings along that whole line. This is not, now for those of you who really love to watch the storm chasing shows, this is not a situation where you're going to be able to see anything. You're not going to be able to step outside, see what's going on with this particular line. There are numerous lightning strikes. Maybe that'll occasionally light things up, but it's just a huge question mark on this line. Where is it? What's going to happen? Where are these spin-ups going to occur? And then we also have to realize that we are not going to get precise data from the radar sites, even if we were closer. So we do have the likelihood that there will be a quick spin-up tornado, enough to do some damage for sure, in addition to those straight line winds that are going to be a little bit stronger behind it. And this is now increasing in potency just within the time I've been talking here, over about the last 20 to 30 minutes, that northern bookend. Notice that curling back. So along the squall line, it's curling back there, and that accentuates not only wind damage, but a little bit of a tornado threat in that space. So on the northern side, that's curling back a little bit. It's a very dangerous portion of the storm. And then this portion, that's where that cold pool is pushing out those winds. Wind gusts could be stronger in that portion of it. So from right about 169, Highway 169 in Kossuth County, stretching all the way down to Highway 18 in Hancock County, We could have some straight line winds that are pushing 80 miles per hour. We have previous reports of 82 mile per hour winds. That is going to be enough to knock down trees and do some damage. It's going to be able to knock over some campers. We saw that just last Friday at Clearwater Campground in Clear Lake. This is a dangerous storm. And we have that tornado warning through Albert Lea all the way to the eastern side of Freeborn County, and that is until 10:45. We're tracking this leading edge, and right now let's just zoom in as closely as we can to look at where the most dangerous portion of this storm is going to be. And right now that's from Keister to Scarville, nearing Lake Mills, to the Leland area. This tornado warning that is in effect now until, in that spot now it's till 10:15, but it's been extended to 10:45 farther off to the east. Lake Mills to Joyce, Leland, Forest City, Fertile. So along this portion of the storm, from the very leading edge, where it more commonly will have tornadoes develop very rapidly and without warning. Of course, now we have that tornado warning, but without any notice whatsoever in one spot. It can happen very abruptly where that tornado forms, and even especially in these spots where we get a little bit of that indentation on the radar picture. So nearing Lake Mills right now, nearing Joyce, nearing Fertile. All these places I mentioned, this is where you have to be taking shelter right now. Please get to your emergency shelter, get to your safe space, grab the kids, go downstairs until this storm passes by. That tornado warning extends all the way to the east. You have a little bit of time to collect your thoughts in Northwood and in Kensett and in Manly. The storm is not that far off to your west. You can hear it, certainly you can see it if you're looking off to the west. But in Fertile and Lake Mills and everywhere in between, you need to be taking shelter right now, and you need to be doing that within the next 5 minutes in Northwood and in Kensett and in Manly. I would recommend you start doing that now in Albert Lea. As Jim mentioned a moment ago, sirens were going off before as that tornado warning was issued. And that storm, the leading edge, now just getting into the far southwestern corner of Freeborn County. We got a new radar sweep right there coming in. So that is now near Mansfield. Let's just cozy up and bring this a little bit closer. Mansfield, and then getting closer to Highway 69. So it's not in Glemmons yet, or in Emmons yet. It is getting closer. So that is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes away from you in Emmons, and now it is right on Highway 69 in North Iowa in Winnebago County, so getting to Lake Mills. And that is now into Worth County, the western side of it, Joyce and Fertile. That leading edge is where we have that higher risk of tornadoes. And then behind it, now Forest City, your risk level is now increasing for straight line winds if you're not underneath those straight line winds right now. And then that still stretches back to around Lakota and Tatanka. All right, so those winds, very strong coming in, more than likely out of the west. And on the leading edge, we have that combination of straight line wind damage and also the tornado potential. And now that extends down to all of Cerro County for a severe thunderstorm warning. Clear Lake, Ventura. By the way this looks right now, I'd say in Clear Lake, you need to be in your emergency shelter right now. I don't like the looks of this at all in the radar picture. I don't know if we're going to be able to see anything on the velocity scope at this moment, and we're not. But this is troubling. So just a heads up. Along and to the north of Highway 18, you need to be in shelter at this moment and nearing Interstate 35. A little bit of an indentation right there. That's a sign that there could be a tornado occurring or that one could develop at any moment. And we're seeing those little notches along this whole line, all the way up to around Fertile. The squall line means business right now with that damaging wind potential, also in addition to tornadoes along the line. We have seen that so many times before. We had one more than 10 years ago on the northwest side of Rochester, many of you may recall, where we had a similar situation to this. A line came through. Now what these are called, this is a squall line. We don't call them technically squall line tornadoes. They're called QLCS tornadoes. Put that in your little nerd vocabulary for tonight. Quasi-linear convective systems. And what happens as these are occurring, we have those spots of tornadoes that quickly occur and can quickly dissipate, but they will do damage like any tornado would do damage, and they're very quick, and they can happen very abruptly and fall apart just as quickly as they happen. But right now, this concern is for this whole line. And in Albert Lea now, you should be scooting. Take shelter. I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter as to where this line was, and we'll work the whole squall line. Alden, Conger, Emmons, be getting to your shelter right now. Mansfield, you already need to be in your shelter. It is too late. Get there now if you're not. So Emmons, you need to be moving. Lake Mills to Joyce, you're underneath the leading edge where there might even be some smaller hail with this, but we're not looking so much at a hail threat from the storm at this time, but straight line winds and tornadoes developing anywhere along it. I'm going to step over here to grab my iPad so I can get any of the latest reports from the National Weather Service. We're moving very quickly, but I want to make sure I'm staying in touch with our friends at the National Weather Service to get any of the very latest updates. And okay, not seeing any, they got that tornado warning out now. We have a new one that's out for Mitchell County and southern Mower County. That's ahead of that line too. And as I'm looking and just thinking in Freeborn County, you need to be taking shelter. Especially in that area just west of I-35, but this line is cooking. It's moving fast. Winnebago County, then into Worth County. And now we have that extended tornado warning. This one includes Lisle and St. Ansgar and Osage, and that tornado warning, let's get the latest on it, is until 11:15. So this line now is moving very quickly. We also have thunderstorms through much of Fillmore County, and I'm standing in front of that right now. Non-severe storms, but there could be some hail, some heavy rain, frequent lightning with those. Our number one concern is off to the west now in Freeborn County, in Worth County, Mitchell County, and Mower County. At some point as well, Austin, you're more than likely to be included in this. We have, I'll put a big picture track on this storm, get a timeline for you right along the leading edge, and assuming that it's still moving 55 miles per hour, and I'm going to make sure that that is set in there correctly. Okay, move this out of the way. Let's look at our timeline. Move this. Okay, we're going to go to Brandon in just a little bit here, but I'm going to get this line stretched out. Okay, Alden, 10:19. That's now. Need to be taking shelter. Mason City, 10:24. Albert Lee, arrival time of the leading edge is 10:28. 10:35 in Norris Springs. St. Ansgar is at 10:42. Osage at 10:47. Austin, 10:49 p.m. We've been talking about that all night tonight, between around 10 to 11 p.m. as things really start cooking here. Charles City, 10:54. And now the most dangerous portion of the storm. That's our short range right here. Alden, Mason City, Albert Lee, in your shelter now. Norris Springs, be getting there. 10:35 arrival time for you. 10:42 in St. Ansgar, and then eventually into Leroy at 11:07. So removing that track and looking at the warnings along this line, we have tornado warnings, massive amounts of real estate within this tornado warning. Cerro Gordo, Worth County, Winnebago County, Hancock County, Freeborn County, and then the eastern side of Faribault County. Tornado warning that continues. Southern Mower County, over to Lisle, down to Osage, St. Ansgar. That tornado warning until 11:15. All for this. All for that line that's going to be producing tornadoes very abruptly. You do have plenty of time to be taking shelter. In addition to the tornado threat, we have the potential of wind gusts up to around 70 to 80 miles per hour. Emmons, you are getting hit right now. You need to be taking shelter at this very moment. That's going to be moving soon into the Twin Lakes area. Zooming in just even a little bit tighter here. And sirens are going off in Albert Lee. I'm going to pull up Tower Cam in Albert Lee as well. Make sure we're getting that. Take a look at some others here. See what we're seeing in Austin right now. Numerous flashes of lightning that have been occurring. But I'm going to go back to the radar picture. Let's get to that. Radar indicated tornado. Just taking a look at what we have coming in. Let's go to Brandon. So as we see this line continuing to progress off to the east, I understand Brandon is in the Albert Lee area. It's in the Austin area. I want to point out this, how quickly this line is accelerating. See that turn on the northern side, that squall line racing through, the tornado threat in Freeborn County, Worth County, Cerro Gordo County, back into the eastern side now of Winnebago and Hancock County. You all need to be taking shelter, and that is moving very quickly into the Albert Lee area. And that bigger that bulge that you see on the front of this line, the higher the threat of damaging winds to go with that. So putting this at a stop, this is really accentuating how strong some of the winds are going to be just behind the leading edge of this. This is the cold pool right there. There's a lot of rain, but that cold pool, that's descending air. So that air that's been rising, the rain-cooled air, smashing down to the ground, moving to the east, and then you've got that conflict, that front developing where those tornadoes are occurring. So it is a very busy night, and we have tornado warnings now. Brandon, what are you seeing right now in the Austin area? What can you report from there?
Yeah, Randy, there is quite a bit of lightning, as you mentioned, in the Austin area. The rain isn't exactly coming down right now, but mainly when I was driving on I-90 heading towards Albert Lea and then back to Austin, the big thing were the winds. They were pushing against the car quite a bit, and so that's the biggest thing to look out for right now. Again, numerous flashes of lightning like you can see. The rain hasn't exactly started falling yet, but it's showing signs that it might pick up here in a couple minutes. But for right now, it's mainly flashes of lightning and strong winds here in the Austin area. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Randy, back to you.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. And just FYI to the booth, if someone could grab me a little water, that'd be great. I just wanted to put a timeline for Freeborn County specifically, and then I'm going to move down the line and show you what's going on right there. So Carlston, 1022, Armstrong, 1025, Albert Lea, we're still looking at 1029. Thank you so much. Glenville, 1030, Shell Rock, 1032, Bancroft, 1033, Hayward, 1035, and Myrtle at 1036. That is off the leading edge where there is that highest potential of a tornado occurring. That is also shortly after that when that straight line wind damage is going to kick in. So I wanted to get that placeholder on you for what we can expect to see in Freeborn County. Now moving a little bit farther down to the south, and I'll put a timeline in this specific spot in Worth County. So moving that out, 55 miles per hour. Manly at 1026, Northwood 1028, Grafton 1033, Deer Creek 1036, and Carpenter at 1038 p.m. That's off the leading edge of this line, and we just got an update to the radar picture there, so I'm going to move this just a hair, and I'm going to do that one more time. This is an area under a tornado warning, a specific threat of tornadoes along the leading edge of this storm, and it is progressing very quickly off to the east at about 55 miles per hour. So drawing that out from Worth County into Mitchell County, moving off to the east. All right, some updated times, 1024 in Manly, 1027 in Northwood. Then we're looking at Plymouth, Shell Rock, Deer Creek, Carpenter 1037, St. Ansgar at 1040. Based off the speed, a little bit of an estimation there from the radar, from our friends at the National Weather Service. They do an outstanding job, though, with that. And Osage 1046, 1050 in Stacyville. That is off the leading edge of the storm, the most dangerous portion of it, where there is that conflict occurring, where there is the higher likelihood, the higher chance that there is going to be a tornado developing along that line. Taking a look at the last bits of information that I have from the National Weather Service, I'm not seeing any fresh reports. But then again, that's not a surprise considering it's dark. People aren't able to see what's going on out there. If this were daytime, we would have storm chasers, we would have emergency management crews everywhere with a lot of visibility. But that is one thing we do not have at this hour. As we are nearing 10:30 here soon, tornado warning still in effect for Freeborn County. You need to be in your shelter in Albert Lea and through all of Freeborn County. Now look at this. We've got new tornado warnings. They just updated the polygon in Worth County, northern Cerro Gordo County, and we just got a new tornado warning for Floyd County. That includes Rockford, Norris Springs, Floyd. So the northern half, mainly north of Highway 18 in Floyd County, and that tornado warning extending into Mitchell County and southern Mower County. Severe thunderstorm warning in addition to that. So this is a potent line right now with that double hit of straight line winds and possibility of a tornado developing at any point, at any time, right along the squall line. We're getting very close to Albert Lea with the arrival of this storm. So I'm going back to the northern side of this, very close to Freeborn. It's knocking on your door, and if this radar picture is even 2 minutes old, That storm is right on top of you in Freeborn now, on top of Alden already. That's going to be approaching Albert Lea. We're looking at that hitting the Highway 69 area in about, or not area, hitting Highway 69 in about the next 5 minutes. So another timeline here for you just to show the leading edge, how quickly this is moving. We just got a new update on that. And I'm going to extend that off to the east as far as we can see here. Hold on, taking this back. Albert Lea takes shelter right now, same with Northwood. It's on your doorstep. As that continues to move off to the east, Albert Lea is right now 10:26, Shell Rock 10:28, that's just a minute or two away, Bancroft at 10:30, Hayward 10:33, Clarks Grove, it's going to be on your doorstep at 10:36, and then Riceland at 10:39 and 10:42 in Lisle. That is going to be about 10:45 in Austin. Okay, double checking to see if we have any recent information there. I'm going to go back to what we have going on in a larger area here. Also want to remind everybody that we have, there we go. I mean, look at the scope of this thing right now. This thing's a beast. Squall line extending from Faribault County up to the western side of Waseca County, all the way down to the I-35 corridor. Tornado potential along this entire line, a tornado watch for all of these counties highlighted in yellow until 1 a.m. And this line now increasing in speed. I don't want to, we're not forgetting about the actual tornado warning itself, but now this is moving right into Albert Lea very shortly. So we're getting to Highway 69 right now in Albert Lea. Everyone in Albert Lea, you need to be taking shelter, get into your basement. And we have tornado potential along all of the squall line. So to Glenville, we're on Highway 65 right there. So Highway 65 is now the corridor where that is just nearing. That squall line is now on top of Highway 65 in Worth County. Potential tornado at any moment, or maybe one ongoing within this line, as it is moving very quickly, 55 miles per hour to the east. In addition to the tornado potential, we also have the possibility that there are wind gusts up to around 70 to 80 miles per hour. Checking to see on our discussion here with the National Weather Service if we have anything new and exciting going on there. I don't have any additional reports coming in, but I'm going to step on over here and we're going to take a look around at a few more spots. I want to just make sure that we're covering all of our bases right now, but most importantly, just a heads up on these tornado warnings that are now extending for the next 45 minutes, and we will more than likely see these extending to midnight or even later. Okay, we just got a report of 350 plus people without power in Forest City. That's going to be one of the things that results in all of this, from the potential of a tornado, all the lightning within it, and the intense winds. Albert Lea, you're in it right now. I'm going to pull up our Albert Lea camera, see what's going on right there. Okay, I'm going to step over and we're going to take a little bit of a tour around there. I'm going to move that around. Okay, but in Albert Lea right now, you need to be taking shelter as there is a tornado warning, and that line is right on top. We have another look at at a MnDOT camera there. That's I-90 and 35. Lots of lightning happening on our camera as well here. We're seeing that lightning as well on the MnDOT camera. I mean, we're losing visibility very quickly here. It's along this leading edge that is now hitting Albert Lea, where there is the possibility at any moment that there could be a tornado within this. And just notice how messy it is outside. A live look in Albert Lea where we have nonstop lightning like a strobe light, and the potential that there could be a tornado, low visibility. This is not something where you can track it by standing outside to take a look. This is what we have going on in Albert Lea. I'm just going to pull back up the image here of the radar so that we're not leaving anyone hanging on any of the warnings that we have in effect right now. Farther to the north. All right, so Freeborn County, this tornado warning that is in effect until 10:45, and that is right now into Albert Lea. And Albert Lea, this is where we have the highest threat that there could be a tornado along this line, and that is right along Highway 65 to Glenville. Little notches here and there, and one just east of Freeborn, that there could be tornadoes along the leading edge of that line, in addition to the fact that the winds are going to be picking up to around potentially 70 to 80 miles per hour within that line. I'm going to pull up the velocity scope, just take a look at what we have right there. Straight line wind, more than likely, on these leading edges, and notice where we have some of those bright greens, a little bit of conflict, but that is where those winds are really going to be cranking now along that leading edge and then just behind it. And the tornado warning in effect for Worth County, Northwood, now moving to the eastern side of Worth County. That's moving into Mitchell County, southern Mower County. At this time, we do not have a tornado warning extended into Austin, but more than likely we will see at least warnings of some type extending farther off to the east. But a tornado warning still in effect for the next 15 minutes in Freeborn County. Now that's from Freeborn all the way through Albert Lea to Glenville to Northwood and Worth County. And that warning all the way to the eastern side of Freeborn County. And then we also have a tornado warning right here, including Lyle, so from Highway 60 or from 218, now just south of Highway 56. But for those of you in Rose Creek and Adams and Leroy, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. As the storm approaches, we have the tornado warning in effect for Worth County, where everybody needs to be taking shelter at this time. Then that tornado warning extending into Mitchell County, and that is until 10:45 for Cerro Gordo, Winnebago, and Worth. Let's get that one for Mitchell and Mower. That is until 11:15, and we also have these warnings in effect now for southern Mitchell and northern Floyd County. Technically speaking, the tornado warning does not include Charles City, but it does include Norris Springs, Floyd, and Rockford, as this line is now just moving toward the eastern side of Cerro Gordo County and soon to be in Norris Springs. You need to be taking shelter in Norris Springs right now as the storm moves in, especially with what I'm seeing right there, just a little bit of an indentation there. We could have a spin up that's occurring on the flank, right on the edge of that storm, but just to the west of Norris Springs. Also some suspect indentation showing up in Freeborn County. Now in Albert Lea, our camera's still holding up, so that's good, but we really can't see much of anything right now on the camera. Tornado warning in effect for Freeborn County until 10:45. Cerro Gordo, Winnebago, and Worth County until 10:45. And now just off to the east into Mitchell and Floyd counties. This line is just a beast, and behind it there is the potential that winds could be quite gusty. I'm going to see if I can pull up some of that additional data. So I'm going to go to wind gusts right now and see what some of the most recent ones have been. Now, more than likely, this is not going to show us a whole lot, as this is just intermittent data at some of the automated stations. But some of this so this is about 30 minutes old, but just showing that while Fairmont had a wind gust of 50 miles per hour, so again, 30 minutes old, those wind gusts that were along the northern side of that line up to around 70 to 80 miles per hour, and we were seeing that in Wright County, same with Hancock County, and now that has translated farther off to the east. I'm going to go back to the radar picture and show you what we have going on big picture here. Freeborn County, Winnebago County, or Freeborn County, Worth County, we have tornado warning in effect until 10:45, and this line, which is huge, continues to move off to the east at about 55 miles per hour. Now the northern side, we have a weaker extended line through portions of Minnesota from around Waseca County farther to the north, but the most dangerous portion of the squall line is at this time is around Faribault County into Freeborn County, continuing to move off to the east. Now that's about to exit Cerro Gordo County, or at least the leading edge of it is, and it's going to be a straight line wind threat once that leading edge is gone, or once it's past you. So taking a look back at the radar picture here, we have the highest tornado threat right along the leading edge, along where you see some of the higher reflectivity. Those are the brighter colors, the reds, the oranges, the yellows right there, from Northwood up to Albert Lea. Look at the concentration of lightning that we have in Albert Lea right now in the center of Freeborn County. There is a lot of electricity with this storm. We also see that extending all the way down the line into Winnebago, or into Worth County and Cerro Gordo County, and the leading edge, that higher tornado risk right now is on the border of Worth County and Mitchell County, and that's going to be moving to the east at 55 miles per hour, and then stretching farther to the north into Freeborn County. The leading edge is where we have the higher risk of a tornado developing at any moment, and now it is moving to the eastern side of the tornado warning at this time. And anywhere along that whole line, we have the possibility of a tornado developing, and then we have the known, which is the significant wind, the gusty winds that are coming from this line, and we are seeing that now extending all the way down into Iowa, so Des Moines and even farther down to the south. Severe thunderstorm warnings along that edge of the line. Not sure if we are going to see, all right, so there we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Mower County. They've gone with a severe thunderstorm warning with that one, as that line is now approaching the Austin area. And let's see, I'm going to step aside here for just a moment. I'll keep talking with you though. I'm going to move our Austin camera back to the west. I had transitioned that camera a little bit farther to the south, but I'm going to be able to move that for us and get a better view of what's happening off to the west. Let's go. All right, I'm just moving the Austin camera right now. I'm going to make sure we've got all our cameras in place all across the area. Radar picture still up, showing that tornado warning that we have for Freeborn County. That is until 10:45. We've got 9 more minutes on that. We also have the tornado warning for southern Mower County, so from Lisle down into Mitchell County. So it's not showing the right one right now. There we go, Mitchell, Mower, so Lisle, Osage, St. Ansgar, Stacyville. That tornado warning that's in effect until 11:15. So we've got another almost 38, 39 minutes left on that one. Thank you for your patience. Tornado warnings lining up right now from north to south, and it looks like we've got just a resend of the information, but Norris Springs, you have to be taking shelter right now. That is a dangerous portion of the storm, and the squirreliness that we're seeing here, not a good sign. There's a little indentation there, and then it's jutting out there near Norris Springs. So from Rockford to Norris Springs and east of Rock Falls. I'm a little more concerned about this spot right now where there could be a tornado at any moment, and that tornado warning is in effect until 10:45 for Floyd County and southern Mitchell County, and then we have that tornado warning. It's a separate one, but it's still just basically all connected. So this storm, leading edge right now, is coming out of Worth County and into Mitchell County. St. Ansgar, Lisle, you need to be taking shelter at this very moment. And the storm that's making its way soon out of Freeborn County, but still right in the heart of it in Clarks Grove. This is also a very dangerous portion of the storm toward the northern side of Freeborn County. Tornado warning does not extend to the Freeborn-Steele border, but Clarks Grove right now, you got a little bit more intensity showing up on the radar picture, and also just a little bit, some notches right there along the leading edge where there could be the development of a tornado. That tornado warning until 11:15 for Mitchell and Mower. The expiration is now 10:45 for Freeborn County. We're not seeing a whole lot in the way of any relief. I'm going to take a look at some of our tower cameras here. So we're going to take just a little bit of a tour there. Hopefully everything just pops up as it should. All right, that's how it's looking in Rochester at this time, very murky. Now this is looking directly to the west of Austin. So Packer Dome is right about there. Of course, the dome's not up right now. You see the water tower, but you can see the flashes of lightning, and I'm standing in the way of some of that. And you can also see the cloud base right there. So as this continues to get closer to Austin, we're going to have just a really, really good view from our camera that's in downtown Austin, looking off to the west. It is one heck of a lightning show happening right now. And then now the vision or visibility has improved quite a bit in Albert Lea. All right, we have some video from Blue Earth. Why don't you? Okay, lightning strikes and low clouds that we've got in Blue Earth, just a stormy scene all across the area tonight. Might have even had, some lowerings that were showing up right there. I want to take you back to the view in Albert Lea. Oh yeah, look at that. Sorry, don't do that. Keep it on this. Yeah, that's a lot of what, I'm just watching this for the first time, like those of you at home are. I don't know if you're able to put me up in front of that video too or not, but That is something that we probably saw a lot of tonight, where there looks like there could be even just a small tornado or funnel cloud developing there. Numerous situations like that all across the area. All right, so looking at that video, yeah, right there, just a little bit of a lowering there. Things are hard to see tonight, but so dark, so much rain, so much embedded rotation within these storms. Okay, let's hop back. Let's go take a look at what's going on right now in Albert Lea. Visibility has increased. The lightning is still almost nonstop there. And taking a look at Austin again, that's straight off to the west. We are more than likely going to see a shelf cloud pretty soon with that. I want to go back to the radar picture here, get the latest on any warnings that we might have, make sure we get a proper review of what's going on there. It's loading. Give me a moment here. Okay. This is more than likely, so that severe thunderstorm warning that has been extended into Mower County. Austin, it is very close. In just a moment, I'm going to go back to our tower cam in Austin and take a look there. Still the possibility with this severe thunderstorm warning. Now, when I pull this up, more than likely it is going to say, all right, so we're looking at wind speeds up to around 60 miles per hour. There could also be a tornado possible within this line as it continues to progress off to the east. But in Austin, you were under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that line is getting close to you very quickly. The winds are going to ramp up very fast. Lisle, St. Ansgar, you're under a tornado warning, and that is until 11:15 as that storm continues to progress off to the east, moving 55 miles per hour. So Mitchell County, Floyd County, and southern Mower County are where we have tornado warnings at this time. And to be decided if anything changes with the severe thunderstorm warning that we have in effect for Mower County. So Austin, your time is now. You should be getting away from windows. That storm is now just off to your west. I'm going to go back to our Austin tower cam and see how things look. I think soon we're going to be able to identify the shelf cloud coming through, and it looks like we are. Okay, so right the edge of that storm as it's approaching, right there. We're not really seeing the laminar flow so much, but that is the front of the storm coming into the Austin area. We will also be able to have a visual whether or not there's any low-hanging clouds there are going to be a little bit of a concern, but we'll continue to watch this storm as it moves into the Austin area where we are under a severe thunderstorm warning. The threat for a tornado is not zero. It is still there. We did not have one as far as we know. We don't have any reports of anything that touched down in far southern Minnesota. I'm just going to double check that though while I have, okay. We'll read this together. Some reported rotation that was between Blue Earth and Elmore and Faribault County. Nothing confirmed with that. Some wake-low winds coming in at around 50 to 55 miles per hour in some portions of storms. Is he live? You can't, all right. Let's get a look at the video now that we have from Brandon. And Brandon is located in Austin, correct? Okay. By the way, it sounds like the tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire in 4 minutes, the one that's in effect for Freeborn County. But this rain and the visibility, that's trash. I mean, you can't see anything out there right now. And this is how it looks in Austin at this time. I think we have just a little bit of a delay. There we go. Some ragged clouds coming in. You are about to be slammed by the wind, the rain, with this storm as it slides on through. The very heavy rain, the strong winds coming with it. Okay, Brandon is back. Let's go take a look what we got there.
Yeah, Randy, the winds definitely picked up, and I'm getting kind of rocked. I'm inside our storm chaser here, and a lot of blowing rain. As you can see, the visibility is hard to see, and kind of near I-90 here in Austin, and definitely strong winds, hard to see. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now, Randy.
You know what, Brandon, you're good in your car. Don't go anywhere quite yet with the visibility as low as it is right now. Strongest portion of the storm is now moving into Austin. at this very moment. So we do have that severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Mower County. That's for you in Austin. We now have looks like a severe thunderstorm warning back into Freeborn County, but Austin getting the leading edge of this line at this very moment. Tornado warning has expired in Freeborn County. Now, the winds are still going to be strong in the wake of this line. So just a heads up, for those of you in Albert Lea, you can go back to bed soon in Albert Lea. We're going to talk with our friend Jim Peterson, meteorologist who's in Albert Lea. The good news is the leading edge has passed us by there. Jim, what can you report from Albert Lea right now? How's the wind?
Yeah, Randy, the wind was pretty howling during the peak of the storm, but honestly, right now the trees where I'm at, kind of by the fairgrounds, just driving around. I'm parked now, but the trees are almost at a standstill. It's like it was here and it was gone. The lightning is still pretty terrific, though, especially as you're looking off towards the east. We did notice when we were in the basement, we could hear what sounded like a little hail. Obviously, I wasn't going to venture up just because at the peak of the storm, we wanted to stay down there, but obviously some hail fell with this storm as well as it came blasting through Albert Lea.
Oofta. All right, well, thank you for that report, Jim. And I was just looking at you are on the northern side of the squall line too. A little concerned that, you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning in Albert Lea right now. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in northern Freeborn County up to around Clarks Grove, up to the Steele County border, and into the eastern side of Freeborn County. But that northern side of the squall line, we could be getting some stronger winds picking up soon. As this portion right here, you see where it's raining a little bit less, not as heavily as it is farther back to the west, but the winds could be ramping up very quickly. We also have those strong winds getting into, I've just got a report from my friend Javier. He's in Austin. It says it's really windy in Austin right now. I'm going to see if we can pull that camera up. Just an FYI, I'm going to look at Austin. You have that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect right now. Strong winds are going to be kind of the hallmark of this whole line. That's what we can expect as it comes through. And then that squall line extending farther down to the south with tornado warnings that are in effect currently for Mitchell and Mower County. That tornado warning until 11:15. And farther down to the south, we have that tornado warning is in effect as well until 11:15 for Floyd and Mitchell counties. And that one's for southern Mitchell, northern Floyd County. North Springs, Floyd, it's approaching you very soon. Osage, you need to be taking shelter. We have seen this before, that little indentation on the radar picture right there, that can be a signal that we've got some spin up happening along that line. And same goes for St. Ansgar. And if anything else, those of you right along Highway 218, you're experiencing some of those very intense winds right now. No exception, 218 up to Austin. And you are in just the brunt of this storm right now, and we're going to see if we can even see anything on the Austin Tower Cam picture at this time. Okay. Strong wind in Austin currently. Wind gusts probably up to the range of around 50 miles per hour. Common. We could have some spots where those wind gusts could be even nudging 60 to 70 miles per hour at times. Since we haven't had any reports recently of the 80 mile per hour winds, that's a good sign. But it is just nasty right now in Austin. Wind's very strong, and it's a lot more quiet currently in Albert Lea. I'm going to move our cameras just a little bit more. Before I do that, I'm going to get us back on a radar picture so I can make sure we stay on that with what is happening most urgently right now with the warnings that we have in effect across the area, with the tornado warnings that are in effect still until 11:15. Unless we start to see any of these dropped, which I doubt we will, but right now, the most intense portion of this line is in the western side of Mower County. It is right on top of Austin. It's on top of Highway 218, and we have tornado warnings in effect from Lisle to Osage to near Charles City in Floyd County. That leading edge of the storm, most dangerous right there, where there could be some tornadoes spinning up at any given time. Now I'm looking at the Austin camera, and there are just low clouds are moving awfully quick. All right, there we go. Yeah, it is hard to pick apart anything in Austin right now with the strength of that storm that's coming through. It is intense right now. So heavy rain, strong winds, and wind gusts up to around 60 to 70 miles per hour are a possibility along that leading edge that is affecting you right now. And we are already starting to see the low clouds racing even in the Rochester area ahead of the arrival of this line, which will continue to make its way off to the east very quickly. We now have, yeah, all right, this is wild. Okay. We now have severe thunderstorm warnings that have been extended ahead of this line through all of Dodge County, all of Olmsted County, the western side of Fillmore County, all of Howard County, all of Chickasaw County, all of Mower County, and we have tornado warnings for southern Mower and Mitchell County into Floyd County, right along the leading edge of that line. But for those of us in Dodge Center, in Claremont, in Blooming Prairie, in Austin, to Dexter, to Leroy, through the western side of Fillmore County, Spring Valley, these severe thunderstorm warnings now for that large swath, and that was just a good call for them to get that out. That is in effect until 11:45. And then we have the tornado potential along the leading edge of this line now in southern Mower County and in Mitchell County. Some pockets of rotation right along that are a possibility. Let's see if we're picking up anything in a little bit. Where we have some of this, that conflict right there, that greens and a little bit of the pink, right along that leading edge is where we could have some brief spin-ups. These aren't going to be really big tornadoes, but they're dangerous in those small areas and can certainly be doing some damage, in addition to those stronger winds that are going to be picking up with this entire line. Now, in this spot, a little concerned too about what we're seeing right there around the Osage area, along the leading edge. But notice we're near the purple ring. So it's called range folding. That radar shoots a long ways out. And then the velocities tends to lose its effectiveness a little bit at this point. It's beyond basically what we'd call the purple haze. But without all that weather jargon, the bottom line is it's really difficult to detect rotation out at that range, but what we're seeing on the reflectivity would indicate that there is still that threat right along the leading edge, right east of St. Ansgar. We just got an update there. Now, right where 218 takes that southern jog to Osage, so St. Ansgar where it goes east, right by that turn, I'm concerned about that spot as well in Mitchell County. Okay, 600 people without power in Worth County, and that is going to be near Fertile. So numerous power outages right now all across the area from these storms as they continue to zip on through. That would be expected with just the volume of lightning strikes that we're getting. And to be honest, right now it looks like the lightning is diminishing a little bit in the lightning detection network up around Blooming Prairie. In Blooming Prairie, you're technically not in, well, you're right on the edge of that severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning for the eastern side of Steele County through Dodge County. So yeah, you're in it. Severe thunderstorm is right on top of you now in Blooming Prairie. I also have a little concern about these spots too. Maybe not so much from a tornadic potential, but in southeastern Steele County. So Blooming Prairie and then that indentation right there, there can be some conflict with the winds. There is the possibility of a brief spin up along this entire line. But then that's also indicative of the possibility of some very strong winds within a few pockets as well. Southern Mower County, Lyle, St. Ansgar to Osage, you are still under a tornado warning until 11:15. And we have tornado warnings continuing for Floyd County. And then as these storms continue to approach and move quickly, this line, let's put a timeline on it right now. So looking at the most dangerous portion of that storm, right along the leading edge, moving at 55 miles per hour off to the east and northeast. So this is going to cherry pick some of the communities in here too, not all of them, but we're looking at the arrival in Casson at 11:14. Looking at the arrival of the leading edge that we're looking at right now, close to Highway 218. Riceville at 11:03, Leroy at 11:08, Casson 11:14, Stewartville 11:17, Rochester is going to be at 11:26, Preston 11:32, Harmony 11:36, Viola 11:38, and St. Charles at 11:44. That is going to be the leading edge of this storm. That is where there's going to be the most dramatic increase in wind speed as the storm comes upon you. That is also where there could potentially be some brief spin-ups that occur within that line, but also damaging winds are a probability. They are to be expected with this. Some tree limbs down, some power lines knocked down, tree limbs falling on power lines. And look at this, earlier, this is a delayed report that came in south of Mason City. This is a little bit of my concern too with any of these delayed reports. So at 10:21, about a half hour ago, fire reported a tornado on the ground, estimated to be at about 10:21 p.m. south of Mason City. Yet another example of how many spin-ups can occur. We also got a report from Norris Springs. Let me take a look at that. The Norris Springs report was a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust. So this is a dramatic line. And now there has been an extension to that tornado warning for Chickasaw and Howard until 11:45. So considering what we know, with that report in Mason City, and also a 70-mile-per-hour wind reported in Norris Springs. Same goes for this line, and especially in these spots just east of Osage. Tornadoes can be occurring at any moment within the leading edge of this line. There may be some delayed reports coming in, just like we saw a little bit ago with that report from Mason City, and then also the intense winds that we are going to realize in Mower County and in southern Dodge County, actually right now in southern Dodge County. But as this line comes through, there is the potential that these wind gusts are going to be pushing 70 to 80 miles per hour. And that is going to be enough to do considerable damage as the line continues to push through. Just a report from Austin now. It has calmed down quite a bit in Austin at this moment, which is great news. Now we might start to see an acceleration in the wind, and I'm kind of wondering if Jim is seeing that now in the Albert Lee area. Hopefully not. But also you're in the back of the squall line. There can be some acceleration in the winds, kind of in that cold pool. Looking at Steele County, a stronger portion of that storm, and then that severe thunderstorm warning for Dodge County, for Olmsted County, for Fillmore County, that is until 11:45. So just on this northern side, let's draw the expected timeline. I'm going to get a track moving off to the east and northeast. Considering the time and the speed that has been reported, Rochester area, 11:22, Chatfield, 11:28, 11:30 in Eota, 11:36 in St. Charles. Hayfield, of course, you are looking at this storm hitting in just a minute, 10:59. So that's going to be right on your doorstep. It's on your doorstep right now. It's going to be hitting in about a minute. Vernon at 11:04, and then High Forest at 11:09. Jim, what is it like right now in Albert Lee? Is that wind picked up at all, or is it still staying pretty calm for you?
Yeah, no, Randy, it's picked up a little bit since we last talked, and that was maybe 5, not even 10 minutes ago. I just did a little bit of a loop around the city. I didn't really see any damage to really report on, but the wind has picked up. The rain is still coming down. We have that another round coming in from the back edge of it, like you said. So it'll be something to watch out for, that wind, in case any of those limbs maybe got a little busted up with the first round.
Okay.
Got to watch maybe for some to come down with this.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear there's no damage, or at least nothing that you've been able to see out there. That's good news. Winds are going to pick up a little bit more, but now we do have an update to the polygon and that tornado warning in Mitchell County. So now it's the eastern side of Mitchell County. That goes to McIntyre. It's going to be on top of you here shortly, to Riceville. And then we also have a tornado warning that continues in Howard County and in Chickasaw County. That's until 11:45. So still plenty of tornado potential right along the leading edge of this line. And it looks like they are also updating. Man, we have quite a block of warnings along this entire line. We want to summarize severe thunderstorm warnings for Dodge County, Olmsted County, Mower County, Fillmore County, now a severe thunderstorm warning for Mitchell County, Floyd County, Howard County, and Chickasaw County, and also within that severe thunderstorm warning. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings right now on the eastern side of Mitchell County, and the tornado warnings for Howard and for northern Chickasaw County. Okay, so that right now, what we're seeing, notice how this portion of the line right here in Mitchell County and in Floyd County is looking a little bit different, a little less laminar than the line coming out of Mower County to the eastern side of Mower County, moving into Dodge County. We're shifting to more of a significant straight line wind damage threat there. And then a little farther down to the south, where we're seeing this activity right there. This is suspect, and that's why they keep putting out the tornado warnings there for Mitchell County, for Floyd County, for Howard County, and the northern side of Chickasaw County. Could be looking at some spin-ups right there, and we have history of tornadoes. Notice back here, south of Mason City, the fire department did report that tornado earlier this evening. That was about a half hour ago now, 30 to 40 minutes ago. And tornado warnings in effect for Mitchell, Floyd, Howard, and Chickasaw counties. And then farther to the north, that line now extending from Mower County to the southern side of Dodge County, making its way into Olmsted County. And that's going to be within about the next 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to do the whole stretch here. We're going to break this into a couple of time estimations as the storm is moving 50 miles per hour. Still not a whole lot of difference in the expected arrival time. And please note, when it says Rochester, it's looking at one point here, and it's looking right basically at downtown. So those of you on the outskirts on the southwest side of town, so say down Salem Road, on Weather Hill, in Hart Farms, that's going to be earlier. That might even be closer to around 11:15 than 11:21. Grand Meadow, 11:05. That's when we expect it to be there, and that is just a couple minutes away. So Grand Meadow, Stewartville, your early High Forest, that's going to be it's on your doorstep. It's going to be there in just a matter of minutes. Casson, 11:09, Stewartville, 11:13, Pleasant Grove at 11:19, Rochester, 11:21, and then Chatfield at 11:28. And that is, if this maintains its speed, which it should, 55 miles per hour is fast enough already. We are probably not going to see that continuing to accelerate a whole lot more. But I just want to make sure you know that we do have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now. Dodge County, Olmsted County, Mower County, and the western side of Fillmore County. The Fillmore County severe thunderstorm warning that goes all the way basically to Highway 52, goes up to Preston. That's going to include Fountain, that's going to include Fillmore, Spring Valley, that's going to include Forestville, Mystery Cave State Park. But the leading edge of this line right now, and the leading edge where there is that higher threat that there could be a tornado, is actually just north of McIntyre, not too far from Leroy. So here we are, Leroy, severe thunderstorm warning there. We are in a tornado warning on the southern side of Mower County, stretching down into Mitchell County. McIntyre, where you have that little kind of pendant on the radar picture, that's a little bit more of a concern. Tornado could be developing, could be on the ground. Hard to say, hard to decipher exactly what's going on, but right along that leading edge. And that leading edge extending all the way down now into the northeastern corner of Floyd County, where we still have those tornado warnings for Floyd and Mitchell. That expiration time is 11:15, and now for Howard and Chickasaw counties, that continues until 11:45. So timeline on that. So I had the northern side for you just a moment ago, but I want to get you locations starting at Grand Meadow and extending down to around the Charles City area, and then extending off to the east. Our timing there is going to be into Leroy at 11:09, and I would encourage everyone along this line with that combination of wind threat and that there could be spin-ups that occur even in areas that don't have a tornado warning, just because of how much small areas of rotation can occur along the leading edge of the squall line. Leroy, Riceville, you need to be in your basements. Riceville, it's on top of you right now. And New Hampton, Bloomfield, 11:15 in Bloomfield, New Hampton, 11:20, Fillmore, 11:24, Preston, 11:32, and then Harmony at 11:36, as this line is moving very quickly to the east at about 55 miles per hour, and in Kalmar, that is 11:42. A lot of potency with this line tonight, and that line, looking at the bigger picture now, that extends from Dodge County, even a little bit farther to the north. We don't have a warning in effect currently for Steele County, but we have these severe thunderstorm warnings for Dodge County, Mower County, for Olmsted County, Fillmore County, and then farther down to the south where we have this tornado warning. And some good news there. That looked kind of awful just a moment ago, what I was looking at, and it's smoothed out a little bit. Another area of concern right here, just south of Riceville, that a spin-up could occur at any moment along this line. Riceville down to the western side of Elma could have some rotation there. I'm going to pull up the scope here just to take a look. Hopefully we're not seeing anything. Not really, not much showing up on the velocity scope, but also in an area that's very difficult to kind of get some good discernment on what's going on there. Now, friends down to the south, there's been a little bit more weakening with that line through the rest of Iowa, where it's holding on to its potency a little bit more here in northeast Iowa. So that is where we have tornado warnings still in effect, and just be taking shelter in Howard County. It's going to be into the Highway 63 corridor in minutes. So just looking at Howard County right along the leading edge of this line, drawing that off to the east. Arrival time in Cresco is 11:27, but first, Saratoga. No stranger to tornadoes this year in Saratoga. Saratoga, it's going to be there at 11:11. So that is 5 minutes from now. Elma, it is there right now. North Washington at 11:12. Chester at 11:16. That's Chester, Iowa. Lime Springs at 11:19. Schley at 11:22. Cresco at 11:27. Granger 11:28. Kendallville at 11:32 and Spillville at 11:35. That tornado warning, all those communities that I just listed are in a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. Getting into Fillmore County, let's do a specific Fillmore County track on this line. So where it is right now, north to south, stretching from Leroy to High Forest and moving off to the east. Arrival time now in Leroy, that is right there on top of you, if not now, in seconds. Racine 11:11, Bloomfield 11:15, Spring Valley 11:16. So right to Highway 63 at quarter after 11. Fillmore 11:23, Forestville 11:25, Bristol 11:28, Preston 11:33, Pilot Mound 11:36. Okay, the wind is really picking up in Albert Lea, and okay, and is Jim still on the line? He's not. Let's see what we've got, and I was kind of thinking that this was going to happen. Getting in the wake of the squall line too, even though we don't have it occurring on the leading edge, we can have those winds pick up. Yeah, we're getting some shake to the camera there. I wouldn't know if specifically a wake low is forming, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. On the bigger picture, with the cold pool developing, get to our view here. All right, yes, and this is making total sense. All right, severe thunderstorm winds right along the leading edge. Dodge County, moving into Rochester soon, within about the next 15 minutes. That line extending down to the Charles City area. Tornado warning for Howard County, that's in effect for about the next 40 minutes. But on the back side of this, where Jim is reporting that the winds are increasing in Albert Lea, and more than likely those winds are increasing right along this line here, from Albert Lea back into portions of Hancock and Winnebago counties as the wake. So notice, I'm going to say it again, there's that bookend, the northern bookend right there, and that is where circulation forms, where it's counterclockwise. Now on the back, while we have this storm racing to the east at about 55 miles per hour, we also have those winds coming in behind. So that's the cold pool that's developing, and where we're getting those brighter radar returns, some of those raindrops, as they're crashing down, there's evaporation that's occurring, the colder, more dense air coming downward, and that wind is ramping up. And the influence from that low, and then the circulation on the southern side. If we were to take a look all the way on the southern side of that, we are going to see somewhere down there a counterclockwise rotation. But unfortunately, this line is massive. That thing is extending way, way, way down to the south. Okay, another power outage, Kensett, Iowa. About 1,000 people without power there. So we might start to see that story expanding a little bit more through the rest of this evening, getting into the very early hours of Monday. As this line progresses, as the winds increase, we are going to have power lines knocked down, tree limbs knocking down power lines. Things are going to be getting a little bit more zany out there over the course of this evening. Taking a little bit of a break here. I just want to try to preserve my voice as best as we can, because I think we're going to be on for maybe another hour or so. Sound like fun? I know there's probably something more exciting to watch, something that's more funny. But right now we have the squall line extending across our viewing area with not only damaging wind potential up to around 70 to 80 miles per hour, we also have tornadic potential. The warning continues in Chickasaw and Howard counties till 11:45. Could still be a little bit of a spin up. I think we are more than likely going to see the Floyd and Mitchell tornado warnings probably just let to expire in 5 minutes. And then we have that final tornado warning for now, the remaining tornado warning in Howard County and the northern side of Chickasaw County until 11:45. Severe thunderstorm warning continues. This line, quite strong. Now Leroy, our friend Axel, this is probably waking him up, and hopefully he can let us know what kind of winds he's realizing there in Leroy. And that extends right up Highway 63. That line is pretty much right on Highway 63. There's High Forest right on the southwestern side of Olmsted County, and that line curving back now into Dodge County. Severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for all of these counties for now. That sounds good. I'm going to summarize the warnings here. Then we're going to go to Mr. Karwowski for a little bit, but we have that severe thunderstorm warning for Dodge, Fillmore, Olmsted until 11:45, and those warnings extending down, tornado warning for Chickasaw and Howard, and then an extension of that severe thunderstorm warning through Chickasaw County. They're just updating the polygon, and notice how they did this very specifically. Right along the leading edge of this squall line, that's where there's threats. There is the continued threat of a spin up right there at any moment from Leroy, even though you're not in that tornado warning right now, from Leroy down to Elma. A spin up, a tornado can occur at any moment there. That is a threat, in addition to along that entire line through southeast Minnesota, where there could be significant wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles per hour. I'm going to do one other track here. I want to make sure we're staying on top of this too, because things are going to change very quickly, but right along the leading edge in Dodge and Olmsted County. So I'm going to do a few of these so we can capture as many communities as possible to make sure you are all notified. Don't want to leave anybody out. Stewartville, Milton, Rochester between 11:14 and 11:22. Now just a reminder, it's a large city, north to south. That's the center. Now the southwestern side, now Byron, you're already in it. Byron, Casson, Manorville, stronger winds, the heavier rain, the frequent lightning. Stewartville, it is right on top of you, 11:14. That's a minute from now. Rochester, 11:22. Marion, 11:23. So that's that intersection right there of Highway 52 and I-90. And that time is going to extend upward to around the Chester area at about the exact same time. So that's 11:23, 11:28 in Orinoco, Iota at 11:31, Viola 11:37, St. Charles at 11:39 p.m. Okay, now a little bit farther down to the south. Want to make sure we get another track put on the leading edge of that storm for the majority of Fillmore County. Speed is off to the east at about 55 miles per hour. 11:30 into Chatfield, but it is now in Stewartville. Spring Valley in just a couple of minutes. Pleasant Grove is going to be at 11:20. Fillmore, 11:24. Fountain at 11:31. Preston, 11:34. And Lanesboro at 11:40. 11:42 in Canton and 11:48 in Newburgh. So that is on the eastern side of this, Canton, Newburgh. For all of you who are familiar with all the wonderful trout streams that are east of Highway 52 in Fillmore County, you'll know these locations. Canton is 11:42, Chatfield 11:30, Rochester coming in at about 11:21. And then extending that a little bit farther down to the south where we still have the tornado warnings in effect. Not tracking one particular tornado. No, we haven't been able to do that this entire night. But this is a portion of the line that is most able to produce a tornado, and bringing that off to the east, assuming that same speed of 55 miles per hour, that's in Chester, Iowa at 11:15, Davis Corners at 11:16, which is essentially right now. Lime Springs is at 11:18, Cresco at 11:26, just a little bit farther off to the east, and then that'll be moving into Winneshiek County and just outside of our viewing area. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, get a drink of water, but let's go to Alex Karwowski, who's got a little bit of information as far as what's going on, perhaps with power outages or any other news from around the area. Alex.
All right, well, I can't promise I'm going to be as great as Randy, but I'm surely going to do my best. So just to recap everything that we kind of know at this point, it seems like we're following a tornado watch in the Minnesota counties of Dodge, Fillmore, Freeborn, Mower, Olmsted, and Steele. And then if you're over in Iowa, it looks like Floyd, Howard, and Mitchell, and those are in effect until 1 a.m. on Monday. I'm just reading that from my email. I believe there are big power outages in Iowa as well, over in Kensett, I believe, which is in Worth County. Let's see what else we got. There was a severe thunderstorm located near Brownsdale and Osage. I just kind of took note of that as Randy was kind of talking. And then over in Leroy and Riceville, I believe you guys are going to want to be taking shelter right about now because that storm is kind of hitting you. And let's see what else we got here. A lot of us won't be out of the clear until 11:45, so we're going to be tracking this for quite some time. I believe Paul's telling me, who's our producer, he's telling me that we have some pictures. Why don't we go and take a look at that? Yeah, this one, lightning over in Austin. Yeah, let's see a lot of rain on that window right there. Looks like some heavy rain. Yeah, and that lightning just doesn't really stop. There's some strong wind as well. Let's see. You can see no cars on the road. Probably a good idea. More lightning in Austin. Yeah, so it's really hitting Mower County, and wow, yeah, it just doesn't really stop. It's just kind of lighting up the night. And there's some lightning over in Wells. All right, and I believe we have Brandon Antony out in the field. Brandon, how's it going out there?
Yeah, Alex, things have dramatically improved here in Austin since the last time I spoke. There's still quite a bit of rain coming down. Like you mentioned, there's also lightning, not as much as we saw before. Still a little bit of wind, but looks like Austin, for the most part, at this moment is clear from the storm. Kind of looking at where I am right now. Just some sprinkles continuing to come down. The rain. I can see there's a vision of the flag where I'm located. It's blowing pretty hard, the pole, to give you an idea of the winds here in Austin. But Alex, back to you.
Right, and I'm actually going to toss it back to Randy now because he looks like he's ready to go.
All right. The storm now just getting into the Rochester area, also right along Highway 63. Still some intensity to this storm through Dodge County, mainly on the northern side of Dodge County now, so you're starting to get a little bit of relief in Casson. Leading edge just into Rochester along Highway 63, Highway 52, I'm sorry, Highway 52. 63 wanders a little bit more over there, all the way down to Stewartville at this very moment. So I want to also show you what's going on with our perspective from downtown. So as we get a few lightning strikes, we're going to start to see more of the cloud base, maybe the shelf cloud as it moves on through. But nonstop lightning, and now we're just starting to hear that here right on top of the station. All right, there's that squall line at this time, moving through Olmsted County, making its way right on top of Highway 63 and Fillmore County. On the western side, on the western side of Fillmore County, Spring Valley, and that's making its way toward Preston. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect there. And then a little bit farther down to the south. All right, Highway 63 in Howard County. And there is still that tornado warning that is in effect for Howard County. So the timing on that, 11:45. Now I'm going to double check our cameras right now and see what we can see as the noise is increasing right here at the station a little bit. I'll be right back. I'm going to adjust that a little bit if I need to. Now our view in Austin, I'm just checking that as well very quickly, but we do have the base of the storm showing up a little bit better from our Rochester perspective, the darker skies setting in here. The wind has not yet. Sounds like some things are getting moved around a little bit on our roof right now. Strong winds along this line as it is moving into Rochester, Stewartville, and now eventually into the Marion area. We are going to have wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour, potentially within this line. That severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 11:45. Same goes for Fillmore County. That line extending right along Highway 63 right now into Spring Valley, moving out of Mower County. Still some intensity on the eastern side of Mower County, down to around Leroy, and that is all moving off to the east at 55 miles per hour. And as it turns out, getting into the center of Rochester, the timeline was almost spot on with that. We were looking at around 11:21. Now we have a couple of warnings in Howard County. So this is now, Highway 63 is kind of the common denominator here of where the leading edge is. And that leading edge of the storm, just getting into Highway 63, this is where we still have some tornadic potential. But notice the flashing here. That is a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for Howard County, and that extends all the way through Chickasaw County as well. Now we're getting that pounding rain, the stronger winds right along the leading edge of the storm in Fillmore County, in Olmsted County, and in Dodge County. Now at this time, and I'm going to make sure that we have all of our reports turned on, and local storm reports are turned on. We aren't getting many, and that's a good thing, but we still have the intensity, and we're seeing the results of these storms in the numerous power outages across the area, and a number of things that could be causing that. The frequent lightning with this storm. I had turned off lighting, but look at when we turn it on. This is just within about the last few minutes. That line now right on top of Rochester, stretching off to the northwest, nearing Pine Island now. Mantorville, it's starting to give you a little bit of relief as that storm lurches a little bit farther to the north. And many areas in the wake of this line where there are also going to be some very strong winds. So from Austin to Albert Lea, Austin, things are a little bit more quiet on the reflectivity picture now, but we saw that winds were increasing in the Albert Lea area, and that's surging a little bit farther to the east from this storm. I want to put this in motion now, show you what's happening when we have this looping with the whole view of the squall line as it continues to push through. And now, Mower County, you are out of the severe thunderstorm warning. You are not 100% out of the woods with any potential strong winds, but that squall line is racing now off to the east, 55 miles per hour. It is on top of us, and this is how it's looking in downtown Rochester right now from our Broadway Plaza camera. Frequent lightning from the storm here. I'm going to take a look and see how Albert Lea is faring now that we had that report from Jim of the gustier winds in Albert Lea. See if we're still getting a camera shake there, and that's going to load up here in just a moment. It's looking like it's a little bit more calm, so I want to go back to the radar picture, and happy to see that this storm is moving a little bit faster. Put an end to all this severe weather worries and get us back on our road to going back to sleeping in a comfortable night with just some plain old rain falling. Severe thunderstorm warning continues until 11:45 for Olmsted County, for Fillmore County. That's mainly the western half of Fillmore County. You are no longer in that severe thunderstorm warning in Mower County, and that line has the potential of producing wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour. Not all of us are going to see that, and still a lingering portion of the storm in Howard County, where there is the possibility of a tornado. And that warning until 11:45, and looking at that storm in particular, with that higher threat of a tornado through Howard County, bringing that off to the east, that's going to be in Cresco at 11:32. So moving into that far eastern side of Howard County at 11:32, Ridgeway at 11:36, and tornado potential and straight line wind damage potential there with winds up to around 70 miles per hour as this line now is moving very quickly. And I'm just going to double check with our friends at the National Weather Service to see what sort of update we might have. We haven't got any fresh severe thunderstorm or any fresh reports. There is now an extension to the watch that goes to our east We are all under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the morning, but they have now extended areas of far northeast Iowa in a severe thunderstorm watch until 4 o'clock in the morning, but thank goodness that does not affect us. In Olmsted, Fillmore, Mower, Dodge, Freeborn County, we're not looking at this continuing until 4 o'clock in the morning. We are looking at more of a downstream effect. These are the watches that we have right now. The tornado watch in yellow until 1 a.m. Now this is the wider view. The line extending, this is one impressive line of severe thunderstorms from Olmsted County to northern Dodge County to the far eastern side of Mower County to western Fillmore County, moving off to the east. Portion of the storm capable of producing a tornado still in Howard County, and then farther down to the south, this storm is losing a little bit more of its strength. So we just so happen to be lucky enough to be on the stronger portion of the squall line in northeast Iowa and southeast Minnesota as this line moves through. And man, it is looking impressive on the, Paul, why don't you go ahead and pull it up? You guys were going to pull up the Rochester tower cam there. Okay, a lot of lightning showing up there. It is just, and right now, so I can hear the wind blowing above us. I'm only pausing to listen just a little bit. But we have frequent lightning. Visibility is lowered with the very heavy rain that's coming through. The wind is howling. Let's take a look, bring it back to gravity. Oh, you are, sorry. The wind is blowing the raindrops right off the lens. Pretty impressive right there. We are looking at some pretty intense winds making their way through right now into the Rochester area. Popping on the radar picture for you. At this time, the strongest portion of the storm is now right along on top of Highway 52. So from Pine Island, you're about to get that visitor, the strong wind gusts, if you haven't already, this portion of the storm. And yes, the wind is making some noise out there right now. Highway 52, strongest portion of the storm right into the Rochester area. And just a heads up, we do not have a tornado warning, but along this line there can still be areas where brief spin-ups occur, especially once we get into that more north-south portion of the line, getting down to southern Olmsted County, nearing Chatfield. And let's see what the timeline is for this storm to get to Chatfield. I'm just going to draw this for our Olmsted County and northern Fillmore County friends as the storm moves off to the east. We are looking at the arrival of the leading edge of the storm in Orion at 11:29. And what time do we have right now? It's 11:27. Chatfield at 11:31, Dover 11:36, Saratoga at 11:38, St. Charles at 11:40, Clyde at 11:43, Utica 11:46, and Fremont at 11:48. So right now we are just looking at Olmsted County into Winona County and northern Fillmore County nearing Houston County. Now I'll take this a little bit farther down to the south. We'll put another track on this. We may have areas where the wind is just a little bit more intense in portions of Fillmore County. Put another track through Fillmore County all the way down into northern Howard County. Straight off to the east, Chatfield at 11:32, Preston 11:35, Harmony 11:37, and then Lanesboro a little bit after that, Amherst 11:44, Newburgh 11:48, and Mabel 11:50. And it's going to be a little while before this gets to Rushford, right on the far northeastern corner of Fillmore County. But Rushford, its arrival for you is 11:55 and then 11:58 into Spring Grove. And why I made that comment a little bit ago is have me a little concerned as we're seeing some of these striations, those stripes in the reflectivity a little bit. Could be indicative of some of those stronger straight line winds behind the leading edge of this line. We could have some awful gusty winds right now up to around 70 miles per hour through portions of Fillmore County. And we do still have our lone tornado warning in effect until 11:45 in Howard County. Cresco, Lime Springs, Protivin, Vernon Springs. That storm now making its way to the eastern side of Howard County, and that tornado warning still in effect for the next 15 minutes there. The storm itself, the leading edge and the most dangerous portion of it, might even be out of there even a little bit sooner than that. So this line now extending from Rochester, moving east of us, it looks like on the tower cam, which I'll pull up here. Visibility is a little bit better than it was just a little bit ago. but still a very strong storm. There are going to be portions of the storm where the winds are still very gusty, able to do some damage up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour, even if it has weakened somewhat. But I do want to not neglect this radar picture at all as the storm continues to move off to the east and continues to track at around 55 miles per hour. Okay, just double checking. Got to multitask as best as I can to see if we have any recent reports that have come into the National Weather Service. Winona County, Wabasha counties at 11:17 said they were going to do a downstream warning. Some more, yeah, and you're already in that. Looking at the bigger picture here, we now have warnings in effect for Wabasha County and for Winona County, for Houston County, as these storms are making their way soon out of Olmsted County into Wabasha and Winona counties. And that storm still, this line moving impressively fast, up to around 55 miles per hour. And then farther down to the south, there's a much lesser severe threat. So if you have any friends down into Iowa, closer to Waterloo, Marshalltown, that line is weakened considerably, but we are on the stronger portion of that. And believe it or not, even with the fact that our temperatures were struggling to get out of the 50s earlier this evening in parts of Olmsted County, it is still a highly unstable situation, at least along and ahead of this line, tapping into all that moisture that's in the atmosphere. And then behind it, the rain will continue. The lightning is going to continue even behind it. I'll turn the lightning back on. There will be the occasional lightning strike a little bit farther to the west, but so far we're not seeing a whole lot of that. There's one. All right. We're going to take a look at a picture in a little bit, but notice these lightning strikes. Back here, where we don't have these organized cells, these big cells, this squall line is right along Highway 52 and now to the east, from Rochester to nearing Preston. You're under the gun here shortly for that stronger wind potential and maybe even some of that tornadic possibility in Howard County, but still numerous lightning strikes behind this, where that rain is coming down and where the wind is still blowing. Let's take a look at the fallen tree. This was in Faribault County, you said earlier. Okay, so this is rural Bryceland getting close to Freeborn County. So a tree on a car looks like. Am I seeing that correctly? Yeah, that stinks. Sorry to see that, whoever's car that was. No good. Hopefully we don't have too many of those kind of situations across the area. Being so late at night, we're not getting a whole lot of reports anymore. Everyone making the right choice now at this point, staying inside, getting into your basement, staying away from windows, as wind gusts are the #1 threat and have been. But in addition to that, we've had so many of these spin-up tornadoes, especially earlier with this line a little bit farther off to the west, and a number of reports of tornadoes that came in from Faribault County into portions of North Iowa. Earlier tonight, we had a wind gust report of 82 miles per hour in Emmett County. And now this line continues to progress off to these. So all of Fillmore County is now in a severe thunderstorm warning. They just issued an additional downstream warning. So this is going now not just to Highway 52, but look at how laminar the front of this line is here. This is going to hit abruptly for those of you in Fountain, up to Chatfield. You're getting that line right now. The wind picking up fairly quickly for you there, and the wind staying strong. Now on the western side of Fillmore County, from Chatfield down to Spring Valley, down to near Leroy, just off to the east of Leroy now, in Fillmore County. And this thing is going to continue to race off to the east at about 55 miles per hour. And the severe thunderstorm warnings continue. Now that latest one for the eastern side of Fillmore County, that is in effect until 12:15 in the morning. At this time, we still have a tornado warning in effect until 11:45, and the most dangerous portion of that storm is now in Cresco and to the areas north and south of there. This is where we could see a spin up right along the leading edge of this line. And this line is moving fairly quickly. It's moving off to the east at about 55 miles per hour, but the intensity is still strong enough there, and in an environment, as there has been a warm front lingering right about there. Remember, it was colder a little bit farther to the north, that warm front where temperatures were in the 70s close to 80, and we were in the 50s close to 60. That warm front being a factor in where that rotation can be occurring just a little bit more frequently, or where the possibility is there that there could be a tornado spinning up. And then all the way back, for the majority of us right now, this event is pretty much over. But for those of you east of Rochester primarily, getting to the northern corner, getting to Zumbro Falls, to Millville, Mazeppa, Zumbrota, Pine Island, the intensity of the storm is a little bit more. We have that severe thunderstorm warning for the next 10 minutes in Olmsted County and Dodge County, and that has been extended into Wabasha County and Winona County, and that is going to stay in effect until 12:15. Straight line wind damage is our number one concern there. There could be, and there commonly are, little tornadoes can occur in any thunderstorm environment, and that has been a number one concern here for us. But it just is not as good of an environment for those tornadoes to occur in Fillmore County and Olmsted County and Wabasha and Winona counties, just because it was a little bit cooler earlier, and then a little bit farther down to the south when the interaction of the warm front, that concern is a little bit higher in Howard County. All right, we have reports of hail in Rochester. We have some video of that. All right, so within the storm, there is a little bit of hail that's not looking like severe hail, but it is hail. Pea-size to dime-size hail, most likely. Do we know what side? Oh, it looks a little bit larger there. Okay, that is from northeast Rochester. So yeah, that's nearing severe-size hail too. So thank you to whomever sent us that. I really appreciate having some real-life verifiable evidence and video and from Shannon Oaks. Thank you so much for sending in that video from Shannon Oaks with the hail there. And there are still pockets along this, come to think of it now, in the far northeastern corner of Olmsted County. Notice that core is a little bit larger. And then this would have been, you know, that northeast side of Rochester near Shannon Oaks. And then the hail core, possibly some of that hail up to the size of around nickels, maybe quarters, in the far northeastern side of Olmsted County, then around Viola, not too far from Quincy, now making its way all the way to the eastern side of Olmsted County to Winona County, and that line, that severe thunderstorm warning, now they just trimmed off the back side of it. Notice this new polygon right there. Back side of that is just still, Rochester is still in a severe thunderstorm warning, but the back side extending now to Stewartville, or just to the east side of Stewartville, and then a little bit farther down to the south. Squall line extending through Fillmore County into Howard County. Tornado warning in effect in Howard County. The most dangerous portion of that storm is just moving out of Howard County, though now still on the far eastern side, though close to Cresco. That's going to be into Winneshiek County shortly. And now the leading edge with those stronger gusty winds just getting into Preston, just getting into Fountain at this very moment, and then farther down to the south. It's going to be just a few more minutes into Harmony. But I do want to look at one thing here, and that is, I'm going to pull up, thank you for your patience. I'm going to pull up the velocity picture here just to get an image of what that's looking like along the leading edge. All right, so this is that interaction with winds. What we're looking at here is just the direction that the wind is moving. You can see the leading edge of the storm right there. We're not getting many indications that there are any spin-ups right now in that area around Howard County to Winneshiek County, but notice the blues right there. This is where that outflow is occurring too, and those winds are getting gusty behind that main squall line, and they are going to stay that way throughout parts of Fillmore County and on the backside of the storm. And now back to around Mason City as well. We're seeing that, notice these stripes a little bit in the reflectivity there. There are going to be some areas of gusty winds from Mason City and then back to the west, where the rain is still coming down. There are still occasional lightning strikes there. Let's go outside. Right now we have Alex Karwowski's outside. Alex, what are you seeing out there right now, outside the station?
Yeah, Randy, so I'm outside the station right now. I'm actually holding the door open right now, and we're not seeing a ton of rain right now. It's mostly a lot of thunder and lightning. We're just seeing loud booms and the skies occasionally lighten up. We actually did just see a lightning bolt right over here by Wildwood just kind of strike. And I'm actually hearing some thunder right now. It is still raining just a little bit. It's kind of spitting around, you know, nothing really worth writing home about. And it's just a little bit windy, but again, like I said, nothing really worth writing home about. The big thing is just the thunder and lightning that I had mentioned. We're still kind of seeing that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see, well, maybe, well, there's a little bit of thunder. Seen a lot of it just kind of come and go, but, you know, that's really mostly what we're seeing right now is just that thunder and lightning that kind of keeps coming by and by. But yeah, that's all I have for you right now, Randy.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it. And you get back inside to just to be safe. I know you are good right there. Just wanted to take a look at what we have with the tornado warning right now. So far, not looking, since the more dangerous portion of the storm has moved into Winneshiek County. Question marks as to whether or not there will be a downstream tornado warning with that. But considering we haven't had much verifiable evidence of anything that did occur in Howard County, but the threat is there. They have just pushed a severe thunderstorm warning. So we now have a severe thunderstorm warning for Winneshiek County. And then going a little bit farther to the north, where that squall line still pushing through Fillmore County, but it has shown signs of being just a little bit weaker as it continues to move off to the east. And to that I say, finally. This thing has been hanging in there for so long, and it just didn't seem like a prime environment for this squall line to stay this strong through Olmsted County, but it has. It has stayed intense, and right now even a little bit more intense in portions of Wabasha County, and that is where there is still some pretty good straight line wind potential around Guilford to Plainview to Zumbro Falls, and that is moving a little bit more of a northeasterly tack as it's on this curved portion of it, on the northern bookend of that, where we start to get a little bit of turn in that, and then also up into Goodhue County, around Zumbrota, now a little bit farther to the north of Highway 52. It's getting late, it's been a lot of talking, trying to keep everything straight and trying to keep you informed, but I apologize if I say anything incorrectly here. This line now north of Highway 52, but still has some good intensity in Goodhue County and staying very strong in Wabasha County. That severe thunderstorm warning continues in Wabasha County, where straight line winds are the #1 concern here for us. The strength of the storm is now a lot weaker through the majority of Olmsted County, but the leading edge now getting into around St. Charles and then approaching Whitewater State Park here very soon. So around Quincy up to around the Elba area. As that storm progresses off to the east, there's going to be some very heavy rain, some gusty winds. By the way, we have some tree damage that was spotted earlier in Freeborn County. Let's take a look at that. Ah, gotcha. At first I thought, where's the tree damage? The tree damage is the top of the tree was lopped off. So that was west of Myrtle. Okay, so just west of Myrtle in Freeborn County. And that's going to be just kind of the song and story of tonight. And we're going to learn a lot more here later tonight and tomorrow morning, as there are more reports where people weren't out and about tonight in the darkness with these storms. But we are going to see a lot more, I'm assuming, as we get into tomorrow. With whatever damage was left from any particular storms. Now, I keep monitoring the time on that warning. We've got 3 more minutes. I'm pretty sure they're just going to let that expire in Howard County as the storm has moved on out. So one thing that I am optimistic about, that I am just seeing now, okay, a little bit of nerdery here. So one thing that happens as these squall lines evolve and change and then start to weaken is that eventually their outflow, what we look at to where there is going to be some stronger winds, when it starts to outrun the reflectivity, that's a sign that the line is weakening. And look at this right here. You see that line right there, east of Harmony? That is outflow from the squall line. And now it is starting to outrun the reflectivity. By that I mean this brighter area right here where the storm is a little bit stronger. That outflow is exceeding the strength right there. It's moving a little bit farther off to the east. The inflow isn't as strong anymore. Not able to keep that squall line as upright and intense as it could have, or as it was, maybe about 20 minutes ago. So as the outflow is now outrunning the line, we're starting to see the first signs of this thing beginning to weaken as it progresses to the eastern side of Fillmore County. I'm not saying that it's zero. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for this storm. For Fillmore, Wabasha, and Winona County, that is until 12:15. So we are in that warning from Rushford back to the west. But now that that's the outflow, very picturesque on the radar picture, starting to outrun the reflectivity. So that surges ahead, and then it weakens a little bit. That is not what's happening right now, a little bit farther to the north in Winona County and Wabasha County. It still has a good dose of strength. This storm is making its way off to the east, northeast. So I'm going to draw a track on this in Wabasha County, getting it off to the northeast. So that's arriving in Lake City at 11:51. Lake City at 11:51, Mount Pleasant 11:45, Pepin at 11:53, Wabasha at 11:58, and then Nelson, Wisconsin at 12:01. So this is going to be, the leading edge is going to be into Wisconsin, just across the Mississippi River by around midnight or shortly thereafter. Now getting a track on this storm a little bit farther down to the south, the more dangerous portion of the storm now getting into Winona County. And we'll put a line on that for those who happen to be streaming us in Winona County. That is going to be into, let me just move this a little bit farther. Okay, Elba, it's on top of you right now. It's 11:45, Elba at 11:47. More than likely, there's a little bit of delay in this radar picture, but it's in Elba right now, so that means it's already into Whitewater State Park. Altura, 11:51, so we're talking getting into around, where we are, right about here. South of Elba, getting to around Altura at 11:51, South Branch of the Whitewater, same time. Lewiston at 11:53, Rushford 11:58, 11:59 p.m. in Stockton. So this is continuing its eastward march, and Lewiston, right about here, Stockton, a little bit farther to the north, and that storm continues to move off to the east. Right now, main production from that storm, as far as what is going to be severe, is strong winds up to around 70 miles per hour. And Fillmore County is where we continue with the severe thunderstorm warning, and that is until 12:15. But I'm happy to say, for the sake of my voice, at this time, we do no longer have any tornado warnings in effect. Those of you in Fillmore County, mainly east of Preston and nearing Rushford, in the next 8 minutes at 11:55, heads up that this is going to be on your doorstep. There's the potential of some damaging winds still, even though this outflow is starting to outrun the line. It is going to start to weaken this, but there is still going to be some very strong winds with that line as it continues to move off to the east. And now we are in the clear in Howard County. So all of our counties, we don't have coverage in Winneshiek County, but this line now has moved into Winneshiek County. There is no longer a tornado warning in effect for any of our counties, and we're transitioning to about a 50 to 60 mile per hour wind threat in Fillmore County, and that warning is in effect until 12:15 a.m. Wind up to a 60 mile per hour, and there could be some hail up to around the size of 3/4 of an inch or a little bit less. But after a marathon stretch here, we are going to sign off, take a break for now. We will be back right away if there are any tornado warnings issued. If you're still with us, I thank you so much for your patience, for hanging with us as we work through what is a relatively nebulous situation with not being able to detect exactly where any of those potential tornadoes were over the course of this evening. But now as we look back, we know from reports that there were a handful of reports coming in from Cerro Gordo County, from Winnebago County, a little bit farther to the west, some 80 mile per hour wind gusts, some tree damage that occurred in Freeborn County, and the potential that we are going to start seeing more damage done to trees in areas of Fillmore County, now in Winneshiek County, Wabasha County, and Winona County. Those three counties I just mentioned, Wabasha, Winona, and the eastern side of Fillmore County, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning until 12:15 a.m. Thank you for staying with us. Stay safe, sleep tight.